Welcome back, guys, to the Keepin It Pinned podcast with me, Owen.
And me, Jamie. We will be your hosts for this episode, and we ought to touch on the fact that it probably is just for this episode, because there's going to be a few times where we're potentially going to have different hosts, a bit of a rolling host situation. So we've got my friend Keegan, who you've not met yet, Owen.
No, looking forward to it.
Yeah, he's not long past his test. He's got a ZX7R.
Nice.
Yeah, a ZX7R. Which he's absolutely in love with. He couldn't make it tonight, but we will try and sort something out with him in the future. So yeah, there's going to be different days. There could be 1, 2, 3 of us, plus guests, plus whoever else. We don't know where it's going to go. But whole party of people. Why not? Yeah, we'll have to see how things go with that. But yeah, for now, for today anyway, it's just the two of us. And as always, obviously this is a Regular Traffic Productions podcast. So go and check out the YouTube channel if you want to see our beautiful faces.
And they are beautiful.
Well,
they are.
Depends, mate. You might want to maybe. Can you watch a YouTube video with Braille? That might be the better option.
Yeah, that's fine. Just feel your way through it.
On that note,
on talking of feeling your way through it,
let's stumble our way through this.
Podcast. We should have a little bit more structure this one, as you can tell so
it's a good
far.
start,
Very
yeah.
structured. Today we're gonna talk about one of our topics is about starting on a 125. And how do we feel about that one? Do we feel like for first time riders, just pass your bike test or looking to get into bikes, do we feel like we need to start on a smaller bike and work your way up? Or can we do what I did? And I jumped the gun completely.
You did. So for those of you that didn't hear last week's, or maybe 2 weeks ago, whatever, the last podcast that we did, the first podcast that we did, we both started in very different ways. I started at 18 on a 125 Cruiser, whereas Owen, you started on an MT-07 at the age of 19.
I did indeed, yeah. So I jumped straight into it. And yeah, I remember feeling like a bit of an idiot at the time. I remember being probably judged a little bit by some people, thinking, what is he doing getting a big bike?
I think there was, the natural instinct of a lot of people, probably a lot of jealous people, who say, no, you've got to do the rite of passage. You've got to start off on a 125, and once you're comfortable with that, work your way up. You're going to crash, you're going to do this, which some of it...
I mean, they weren't strictly incorrect.
No. You're still here. You're still here to tell the tale, which, you must have done something not necessarily entirely wrong. So, hey, so what, like you said, you got a lot of comments leading up to it, potentially, that were saying what you're doing starting on a big bike. But as far as how you felt on it, when you first got on that bike and you first rode it, what was you thinking? Were you thinking, well, I'll be all right on a big bike because I am going to be sensible. I'm going to look after myself. I'm just going to take it easy. It will only go as quick as how far I twist the throttle. Or did you just think it'll be fine? I'll manage it. What was your
send it?
Send it. That was your outlook.
Send
was
it
it?
And see. Lick a stamp and send it. No, I think it was a little bit more measured than that. It was, I think, talking to Ryan, who had the 600 at the time. He upgraded from his 125, and he was sort of thought that, if you're sensible about this, you can get away with it.
Okay.
I spoke to a couple of different people that had bikes, and they just seemed like, it is a case of it only goes as fast as you twist the throttle. And also, I think I seem to remember talking to the guys at Cam Rider when I was doing my test, and their thoughts were that there's actually a lot more stability in a bigger bike.
Yes.
And I absolutely felt that from doing my CBT to jumping onto. So this is where the story of my motorcycling career begins, really, was on my CBT.
Now, should we start off by prefacing this saying, always start as you mean to go on? I think that's a good motto for this story.
I think that's fair.
I think you've been quite true to form, haven't you? But sorry, yeah,
I've stuck to my guns. I've absolutely stuck to it. But I did have a wobble on my CBT. I did. My CBT was a very, very wet day in the wonderful town of Ipswich. And I remember at the time not really understanding bikes or how they worked. I just wanted to get into them. And I was I chose to get onto it. I was on a 125 doing my CBT, and it was the kind of what is supposed to be a controlled stop.
Yeah, emergency stop, but in a controlled manner.
In a controlled manner from about 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I seem to remember getting to 30 miles an hour. This is on camera, by the way, for the record. There is footage of this
I have
crash.
never seen this footage.
Well,
so
maybe it needs to come out one
I think
day.
it might.
I can look back on it now and laugh. At the time, I felt like an absolute pillock. I remember grabbing just a little bit too much front brake for a wet emergency stop.
Yeah.
And the whole thing just washed out. Brand new RST leathers that I was absolutely, I was chuffed a bit.
Felt like the bollocks.
I felt like the bollocks on my 125. With my bib on, my high-vis bib. And there I was, scuffed up on the first day wearing them. So I think, start as you mean to go on was absolutely the motto of that. But
so in the situation, when you were coming up to it, did it at any point cross your mind that you can overbrake? You can brake so hard that the front end's going to skid. Obviously less of an issue on a little while like that, but that you're going to brake so hard, potentially in the dry, you could go over the bars. It is an option. It's happened to people. But yeah, did it ever cross your mind that it's not just brake as hard as you can?
I think at the time it didn't. I think having come from the car world...
Yeah, and you slam on the brakes.
And you slam on the brakes.
Yeah.
And you've got ABS and it will stop.
Yeah.
And I think at the time, I didn't really consider... And you know what? I got away with it lightly. I'm lucky that I slid down the road and scratched up my new leathers. But I think that was a brutal and very real realisation of how quickly things can go wrong on a bike.
Yeah, definitely a bit of an eye-opener, I'd imagine.
Absolutely was. But, it's funny to look back on now. And, I remember that just walking with my tail between the legs back to the rider school premises and just thinking, what have I done?
At that point, did it make you question bikes?
It did make me question it. Yeah, I think it did. I think there was part of me that went, God, if this is how it's already, if this is what's happening already, like I've only just got on the thing and I've already crashed it. Like, am I cut out for this? But they reassured me. The guys, they were really good. And do you know what they actually said? They welcomed me back to finish my CBT. They couldn't give me my certificate based off of that alone. I didn't quite meet the criteria of you can't fail a CBT, but I near enough did.
You got as close to failing as you possibly could.
Precisely. So up until that point, I know, amazing. Up until that point, I'd been doing really well. They said my bike control was really good. I had all of the road
awareness,
from driving a car. I knew how to look out for traffic, and I was courteous towards other road users. I wasn't just sending it around them all like I was on that when I was sat on the back of that 125 with Ryan.
Stop creaking on your chair.
Oh,
Carry on.
We have got a little creaker on board.
It is a bit of a creaky one. I'm going to buy you a new chair for next record. I think a fixed one.
Yeah,
maybe one of them chairs, the electric chair.
Strap me down so I can't fidget. It's probably best.
Yeah, and then we'll record a pod after that.
Yeah, and then Keegan can watch.
Great. Right, back on topic. So you had all of the awareness, you had the general bike control for the most part.
Yeah.
And then after that, so I'm assuming obviously you redid it.
Yeah, I did. So they welcomed me back and they said, let's get your CBT finished. I'd booked in with them and I'd already paid to do my CBT Mod 1 and Mod 2 to get my A2 license. And so they welcomed me back and I'd finished my CBT on 600. And which, at the time felt ridiculous, but instantly as soon as I got on that, I felt so much more comfortable. The bike handled so much better. It was stable. The brakes worked.
Yep.
I mean, you could argue the brakes worked a little too well on the 125, but the tyres gripped. It gave you confidence.
So this is, sorry to interrupt, this is a thing that my dad has always said to me. He said he's had a few offs on bikes. All of them were on his smaller bikes, or I'm sure a lack of experience probably contributed to that, but equally just the size of the tyres as well, not being funny. On a smaller bike, you're probably on a bit more of a budget, you're going to be less worried about the quality of your tyres. Not saying that obviously this is the case for the CBT, but certainly I think if you take an average of the condition of a lot of 125s on the road versus bigger bikes, I think it's fair to say that they're probably going to be a bit more neglected, and yeah, tyre condition or tyre quality is going to be a hell of a lot lower as well.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Just having that wider tyre and a better quality tyre. I remember going out in the wet, and the difference was just night and day. And it just gave me the confidence to go, do you know what? I think I can actually get away with a bigger bike as my first bike. You know, I already felt a little bit behind. You know, Ryan was on a 600, and to go and get a 125 was sort of like, you know, I'm going to be... It might take some of the fun out of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've all ridden with 125s or been on a 125 or a slower bike trying to keep up with the big bikes. Obviously, all within the speed limits, Your Honour.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it can be frustrating. And equally, it can be frustrating from the other point of view. When you're on a big bike, it's not necessarily that you're going above the speed limit, but just the ability to pick up speed a lot more and to be able to... You get up and go, it's a lot more on a bigger bike, and that can make a big difference. So I can understand the want to get something bigger and a bit more capable when you've got people around you that are already on a bigger machine.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? I don't regret it one bit. I think, you know, the learning curve was steep, but it was a lot of fun. And I think as long as you use your head and...
What, to stop?
To stop, yeah, as I found out, you know, and just learn at a comfortable pace. You know, don't go and sort of run before you can walk with it. And you know, I think it is a case that the bike will only go as fast as you'll twist it to an extent. So, yeah, you know, take your time with it, get into it. But for me, getting on a big bike to begin with, especially I think the MT is a very forgiving, easy to ride bike.
Oh, I would agree, yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, the power delivery is really linear on it. It's got plenty of grunt down low. And, I mean, it goes well, you know, in a straight line, but that's not its main aim. It's you know, that bike is designed for, I mean, really, it's a happy shopper, isn't it? Let's be real. It's a commuter's bike.
Yeah, it's like versatile. I said, yeah, exactly. Like I said on the last pod, I think it is one of the best all rounders you can get. You can go silly on them, not advised, Your Honour. You can pop down to the shops quite comfortably. You can do a track day. You can do a little bit of a longer trip, which maybe we'll get onto a little bit later on as well. Some of our, not that we've done many, but we have done a couple of little trips on the bikes. But yeah, I think as an all round bike, and especially if you are maybe not overly experienced on a bike, I think if you want to go for a bigger bike, it's definitely one that I would recommend.
Yeah, no, definitely 100% recommend them. And you know, they've only improved them over the years. You know, they're I'm not gonna sing entirely their praises. They have their issues.
They do, yeah.
They do have some quality control issues, as I have found out, as every MT owner will. You know,
a tin of Hammerite becomes your best friend.
Tin of Hammerite, it has become a yearly part of ownership. You know, over winter, part of the winter restoration. I think we can call it.
Yeah,
it's
full resto every winter.
A little bit in places. You know, the frame does like to chip its paint away a little bit, but do you know, like on the whole, for the price I paid, which at the time was 4,800, I believe.
Which, you know, I saw some coming up on Marketplace the other day. There's some that are below 3 now, which I think, again, for an all-rounder, it's a hell of a lot of bike for the money.
Yeah, it is a lot of bike for the money, and I don't regret buying that bike one bit. You know, and I think at this point I will probably hold on to that for a very long time, maybe forever. We'll see. But I do genuinely really love riding that bike. And it is not the quickest thing in the world. It's, you know, there are so many faster, more exciting bikes, but as a package, with the modifications I've done, the suspension, quick shifter, map, stuff like that, it's a really, really solid bike, and it's done me really well on, you know, from learning to ride to doing track days.
And some good lap times, might I add, for a little 75 horsepower machine round Snetterton.
Yeah, absolutely. It holds its own fairly well, you know, not to
blow your own
blow
trumpet.
Smoke up my own toot too, but you know, like with a bike set up well like that, it can do it, you know. So yeah,
just to reel us back onto the question at hand a little bit, for a beginner to start off on a bigger bike, you wouldn't necessarily recommend against it?
No, I think it depends probably what you want out of biking to an extent. I think if it's just a mode of transport for you, then a 125 is always going to be a cheaper, less invested option.
Yeah.
You know, I think if you just need to get from A to B and you're just, you know, in college, or, you know, you've got your first job and you just want your first mode of transport, then I think, you know, 125 is a great way onto two wheels. And there are some really good 125s out there, you know.
No, you and I can both vouch for that. There's one 125 in particular that we both love. I've owned one. Your brother owns one that you have taken out a handful of times. The little Honda Grom.
Yeah.
Little Honda MSX 125. They are, if I was to go back and do it all again and start off on a 125, I would wholeheartedly be getting a Grom, because they're just so much fun. I mean, a 125 is never going to be quick. All right, a Grom is probably a little bit slower than potentially some of the others, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, you know, we used to have competitions, me and some of our friends in common. Jake, for example, he had a YZF 125, which we all creamed over it when we first saw it. We're like, oh my God, it's beautiful. Oh, it's like a mini R6. Oh, it's amazing. And oh yeah, this will do 72 mile an hour. Oh my God, I can only do 68. And it's just a ridiculous comparison to have. And just purely for the fun factor, I would be all over a Grom nowadays, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Mega bikes. And, you know, they don't have loads of power, but they don't need it. They weigh, just over 100 kilos, absolutely nothing.
They do like 100 miles to the gallon as well.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Really good fun. Again, really just versatile. Like, you know, people stunt them. People, you know, they're a commuter. They're, you know,
great for traffic and in towns and stuff as well. Brilliant little town bike.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, thoroughly recommend a Honda Grom. But there are plenty of other ones out there as well, you know. So yeah, I don't think it's necessary, but for me, I would always recommend getting on a bigger bike. And I think...
Would you?
I would.
It's interesting.
From my own experience.
Yeah. It's gone all right for you, I think it's fair to say. And like I say, obviously you've fallen in love with that bike and it's had a big impact on you. I don't know whether I'd necessarily recommend a big bike as your first bike. So if you are old enough to get one, there is always going to be the appeal. I think... Although I'm not going to advise against it, because I think, just like yourself, you can quite easily get on a bigger bike, especially something a bit more modern with all your rider aids, your traction control, your ABS, your whatever else it might be. That's going to make a big difference. But I think you can learn a lot from being on a smaller capacity bike. Equally, just because you're on a smaller bike, that doesn't mean that you're safe. Like we were saying earlier, the smaller bike, the skinnier tyres, the less grip that you're going to have realistically. And again, as we have been, have I come off? Yeah, I did come off my 125. That was for other reasons. That was because I thought I was clever, and it turns out I wasn't. A stunt man. We'll get back to that in another pod, I think.
Yeah, look forward to that.
But yeah, you know, we've had friends that have come off 125s. They come flying off them. Some of them have gone straight over roundabouts. Some of them have broken bones from hitting into other cars or whatever it might be. You know, you're not invincible just because you're on a 125. You still have to ride within your limits. I know you might only have 10, 15 horsepower behind you, but you can, at the end of the day, you can still get yourself in a lot of trouble. I've been riding with guys that just weren't necessarily the most competent. They were trying to keep up. Not saying that I was quick by any means, but they were just trying to keep up, pushing themselves beyond their limits. And time after time, they were having little offs, little spills here and there. Again, luckily, we've, touch wood, we've been lucky enough that we've never really been involved in big accidents ourselves. Equally, we've never really been, well, we've had you had one incident of being around quite a serious crash with another mate of ours, but again, a story for another pod. But yeah, just because you're on a 125, it doesn't mean you're safe. It doesn't mean you're invincible. You are still going to get yourself in trouble. The chances are, if you're an idiot 17-year-old, 16-year-old, like I once was. Now I'm just an idiot, grown up,
Yeah, just
Not
evolved.
grown up. I'm 5'5" and act like a child still. But
Yeah, looks slightly
adult,
older,
should we
mentally
say.
still 5.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think I think I do actually agree with you on that topic. Then I think a bigger bike, if you think you can be sensible, if you think you're gonna look after yourself and learn to take things at your own pace, then yeah, absolutely go for it on a bigger bike.
Yeah, okay, nice.
Right. What is your opinion on the way that modern bikes are going as far as their aesthetics? I've got quite a strong opinion on the aero side of things specifically. I appreciate wings and that. I appreciate it's all for a function, but what do you think as far as how they're going? Do you prefer, should we say, have you got a preferred era of bikes as it stands, or are you well up for anything that's currently coming out?
For a start, I think the way the bike world is going is less extreme and less drastic than the car world. So I think bike manufacturers,
that's a good comparison,
are doing a good job of keeping things looking like bikes a little bit. But yeah, do you know what? I don't mind some wings on a bike. I think they can look well. I think if they're subtle, and you know, I mean, it's nice if they add actually a bit of function. But I think as long as they're not ridiculous, they can look cool. I think there's some bikes where it's all right. Some they maybe you could take it or leave it. But no, I think there are. I mean, there's a whole the kind of electric bike things. They're definitely going a little bit more futuristic and a bit more, sidestepping a little bit from how bikes have looked in the past, perhaps. But I suppose that's just a reflection of the modern times and the market. And maybe for an electric bike, that's okay. I think generally most bikes that are being put out nowadays still look pretty good. They still look like bikes, which always helps. But I think they're probably, we've probably seen the peak era, in my opinion.
So what is that to you then? What is the peak? What is the optimum era of bikes? Aesthetically,
yeah. I mean, hey, we've had we've certainly had some eras in years gone by, haven't we? If we look at some of the like golden era superbikes of the 80s and 90s, I mean, they were incredible looking bikes. But equally, we've had some nice machines in the sort of 2000s and into the mid 2010s, and you think about, I mean, probably one of the best looking bikes of all time for me is a 13S Yamaha R6.
Yep, agreed.
Beautiful bike.
Yep.
And they were sort of 2010 roughly. So and equally CBR 600 RR.
Yeah,
Undertail exhaust, bike, really like those as well. So
the first when they came away so the first RR when they came away from the F4 and the F4i, I agree. I think that's when they first became, the shape of them, they're very sleek, they're aggressive but still beautiful. I think I agree with you that and the R6 both fall into that same category of the best looking bike.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on, you say you're quite opinionated on this one?
I just think that the aero thing is getting a bit out of hand. Again, I fully appreciate that there is a reason for it. I appreciate that the aero contributes to a lot of other factors other than just the way they look. I think when aero first sort of started coming about in the way that it currently is, when you're starting to get winglets that are growing off the bike in all silly directions, I think the RSV4R with its big curly moustache, that's, depending on the livery, that's one that I can put up with. But I think any bike other than that one, you think of your S1000s or RRs and anything along those lines, they're getting aggressive and everything looks angry and it looks cool. But I can't remember the last time I saw a new bike that I think that looks pretty. That's a beautiful bike. I think it's all just aggressive now, and there's no flowy lines, nothing like that anymore. Which, like we were saying earlier, I think the 13 SR6s, the CBR 600 RRs, anything of that sort of era, the sort of mid 2000s to 2010s, maybe 15s, the CBR 1000s, bikes like that, I think that was the prime. As far as, should we say, modern aesthetics, I think after that is when they started going a bit silly. Super Dukes have always looked a really cool, aggressive bike, but now that they've got this silly Predator headlight thing going on, I'm not keen on it. The Triumph Daytona, sorry, not the Daytona, the Street Triple, I think is one that is holding its own a little bit. I know we're sort of getting away from the sport bike side of things potentially, but that is one where I think they've sort of always got better looking. There haven't been many changes to it cosmetically recently, but I don't think that that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I know, again, that the headlights can divide opinions as to whether people like the twin headlight thing, but I think it's far better than like the Super Dukes, like I say. And yeah, it's just one of the few sort of smooth flowing pretty bikes that are currently being made. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the classics, I absolutely love a classic, 80s onwards sort of a thing. Anything before that is a bit sort of before my time, and although I can appreciate a cool old bike, I'm not clued up on them. Yeah, like you say, the Golden Era Super Sport sort of stuff, I love. Some 90s sport bikes I think are very, very cool. Not all of them. There's some pretty ugly ones. The S-Rad, for example.
Yeah.
I love an S-Rad.
I disagree on that one.
Incredible bikes, and we've known some people that have been pretty bloody quick on an S-Rad. But as far as the way they look, they're just so bubbly. I mean, it's like a Hayabusa, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just the whole look, it's just one big bubble that's been stretched, and yeah, just not keen on that.
They look their age, don't they?
They do, yeah. They haven't aged very well. I can't comment on how they were when they came out, because I don't know if I was even born, 98. So I think that's when the S-Rads came out. But yeah, I think, like I say, the modern stuff is just getting too aggressive now. It's getting too angry and silly. It's just not for me. Yeah, so I think although the older 90s stuff, not necessarily all of them were pretty, but I think I would still choose most bikes from that era, again, aesthetically, cosmetically, than I would some of the modern stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. So, next one. Your dream bike garage. Okay, you just bought yourself a lovely new house and you've got an empty garage.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you right now an imaginary £100,000.
Does it have to be imaginary?
I have 25 pence in my wallet.
Good. I'll take the imaginary. Yeah. 100,000.
So we'll pretend. I've got Monopoly money if that helps.
Oh, yeah. Well, I suppose anything's free if you can run quick enough as well, isn't it? So that's the other option.
This is true.
Okay, so how big's my garage? How many bikes will fit in it?
I would say you can fit up to 10 bikes.
Oh, okay, right. Now, as we spoke about in the last episode, I am quite an impulsive buyer of motorcycles.
Don't do yourself like that.
Yeah, I've had quite a few, none of which have been nice, I would say. I don't know, that's maybe doing a disservice to some of them. I've had a couple of exciting bikes.
You have.
Nothing new, modern, big, shiny, fancy, but kind of maybe for the reason that we were just talking about. There's some golden era stuff that I love the idea of. There's some more modern stuff that I like the idea of. But I like the idea of having one bike for each scenario. Problem is I can think of more than 10 scenarios in which I'd want a bike. But I think as a road bike, there's two options for me. One is a 765 Street Triple, like what we were just talking about, or an MT-07.
You can't argue with it.
No, I don't think you can. I think, like I say, it's an all-rounder. Pop down to the shops, go and do, hypothetically, a couple of wheelies. Your Honour, I would never.
Would never.
I can't. But if I could, I wouldn't.
Wouldn't do it on the way to the shops.
No, of course.
Especially.
No.
30 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Responsible adults here. Yeah. I think as a road bike, that's got to as a general rounder. I think obviously we've got to discuss track bikes. I think a R6, like we were saying earlier, I think a 13 SR6, I don't think you can get much more good looking than that. and I don't think you can get much more exciting. I love the idea of a screaming inline four. I'm determined that I will own one day. Haven't got around to it. Don't want to sell my Aprilia at the moment, so it will have to run alongside it or be maybe a couple of years down the line if I do decide to make a bit of an upgrade. But yeah, 13 SR6 as my track bike. I love a classic as well, as we sort of briefly discussed earlier. I have never owned one. Oh, have I owned one? I owned 2 that I never got running.
But you've owned every bike under the sun.
I have. Not quite the ones I want, but I have always wanted a 2-stroke. Never ridden one. I have never owned one.
I've never even smelled one.
So I've never ridden one. I've never owned one, obviously. And it's just an itch that I want to scratch at some point. I think sticking with the old Italian motorcycles, bippity boppities.
Bippity boppity.
I think it's going to have to be an Aprilia RS 250. I've got a proper hankering for one at the moment. We spoke to Griff from AP Workshops the other day, and I was hoping that he was going to tell me not to do it, and it's a massive commitment financially, and it's going to bankrupt me and everything else. He didn't
sign me up.
Yeah, well, yeah, he didn't say exactly that. He said that they're actually not as bad as you might think, which is terrible for me because, again, I'm quite impulsive. Managed to hold off so far, but that might have to be on the cards for the future. I have done an event with Classic Bike Track Days before. They put on an amazing event, and the old 252 strokes that are there just absolutely get me excited every single time I see one. Every time you hear them, they sound awesome going around the track. I've actually been offered a ride on an RS 300, which I've turned down because I cannot afford to fix it if I crash it. But absolutely beautiful bikes. I think I would have to have one to do some classic days, smash it around one of the slower tracks like Mallory or something like that. I think that'd be a great fun little bike.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd have to have a Grom. Again, we spoke about them earlier. I think just a fun, silly little bike.
I don't want up for sale.
You too. Again, I'm running out of space and time and money at the moment, so I'm not going to commit to your one as much as I wish I could. But yeah, have to have a Grom in the Dream Bike Garage just because they're a silly, fun little bike. I don't think that one needs any more explaining, to be honest. I think I would also go for some sort of off-roady capable type thing. Now, I went into All World Motorcycles, our local dealership or localish dealership a little while ago, to have a look at a KTM 690 Adventure because I was well up for the idea of doing an adventure bike, going and doing a bit of green laning, a little bit of off-roading, adventure-y type riding. I really love the idea of it, and I, again, hope to get around to doing it at some point. This was when KTM was going bankrupt. So,
Gonna strike a nice deal, are you?
Well, no. So I went to look at it, and straight after they declared this. So that put me off to a degree, obviously. Equally, I know that the 690s do suffer with a couple of issues that can be terminal and they can happen at any mileage, and there's no foreseeing what it could be. It's camshaft issues. I think that it's something that has been brought up. It's been covered a lot by a lot of other people. We're not going to go into it. Anyway, that put me off the bike. Again, for you listeners, what you're not going to know is I am slightly vertically challenged, I think it's fair to say.
Don't do yourself like that.
I am 5'5" on a warm day. 5'6" in motorbike boots, we'll say.
Yeah.
But I struggle with...
Every inch counts.
Every inch counts, so I'm told. I struggle with taller bikes. I especially struggle with taller, heavier bikes. Obviously, if they start to go over, there's no way that I'm saving it. I like to think I can hold my own. I've had supermotos in the past that I've done all right with. I've never come off them unless I'm doing something stupid again, but, never dropped one or whatever. I get quite good at balancing. But that does limit my choices fairly as far as an adventure bike. I like the idea of the Teneres or an old Africa Twin as well. I can't remember what generation they are,
cool
but the twin headlight ones,
yeah.
I think they're very cool. And then I think you've also got to have a bit of a Super Naked in your garage as well. I do like the 1290 Super Dukes, the one before they went to the silly Predator headlight.
They have gone a bit bit predator, bit robotic, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. And that would be, I suppose, a bit of a bigger, more hooligan bike, and maybe something little bit more comfortable for doing some longer journeys as well. A little bit of touring potentially, which is something that we have spoken about in the past. Something that I would like to get around to at some point. We did discuss a bit of a trip over to Germany, but that all fell apart. And yeah, maybe in the future. But yeah, I think that would probably do me. I say that. Sorry, no, it wouldn't.
Go on.
I like my project bikes as well.
We know you love a project.
I do like a project.
We know you love a shit.
I don't like finishing them, but I do like having a project. I want a chopper. I've got no interest in riding one whatsoever, but I really want to build one. A proper skinny little thing with the old rabbit ear handlebars, a big sissy bar on the back, big king and queen seat. I love that style of things. And for those of you that don't know, I'm a fabricator by trade, and making a bike from scratch like that has always been a bit of a dream. So yeah, add that to the list as well.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with that at all. I think it's more than fair.
So I'm going to assume that your list might be slightly different.
A little bit. There's a couple of sports bikes in here. I mean, I've never, up until owning the Aprilia, I've never had a sports bike. I've only had one bike. So my experience is limited on that front. But I definitely there are a couple of sports bikes that I'd love to get on. I'd love a track bike 600, so whether that be an R6 or CBR 600, something like that. Also the 765 Daytonas, the Moto 2 specials. They are so nice.
Yeah, agreed. I saw in Lings in Ipswich the other day. I saw the Street Triple 765 Moto 2 edition, or GP edition, whatever they want to call it. And the little billet top triple tree and all that sort of thing. Oh, absolutely stunning little bikes.
Yeah, they are really nice, and they're just really nice fit and finish on a Triumph. They look good. They haven't gone over the top with modern styling like we were talking about earlier. It's still, they've kept the styling from the past few years, but it still works and it still looks really good today. So absolutely, that'd be up there. And that triple engine just sounds so sweet. Also, I wouldn't mind something like an RSV4.
Okay.
The grunt and they sound just unreal.
Now, is that a new one as far as we're concerned?
Yeah, I think if budget wasn't an option.
Yeah. Sorry, I gave you £100,000 as well. So yeah, knock yourself out.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I will. So I'd like to spend, what are they, £25,000.
Yeah, actually, that's a quarter of your budget.
Do you know what? Thinking about this, I think I might be over budget here. But I think something like an RSV4 or a more modern Tuono. The engines are sweet, sound amazing, loads of torque. And they're just cool, nice bikes, aren't they? I think you can take it on track. You could use it on the road to a degree. Definitely more power than you need.
Yep, won't necessarily use its full potential, but nice to have it sitting there just in case.
And also totally agree on the KTM, on the Super Duke KTM 1290. A couple of generations ago, probably not the new ones. I do think they've gone a little bit extreme in the styling, but
are you thinking the first of the 1290s? Then is that what we're going with?
Gen 2, Gen 3, 1290. Such a hoot of a bike, and it's basically a bigger version of the MT for me. It's just outright ridiculous, really. It's just oodles of torque, more power than you'll ever need, and you can just be an absolute tit on it. Let's be honest.
Have you ridden one yet?
I've not.
I think we need to get on the phone to Oil Motorcycles in Ipswich and go and see whether we can sort out maybe a couple of little test rides, because I'm well up for giving one of them a spin as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's something us and some of the boys have spoken about for a little while, is test riding one of those. So I think that needs to be done for sure. And to be honest, I think if I test rode one, I would be very quickly looking at how I can scrape some pennies together to get one, to be honest.
Hey, that better not involve selling the Millie.
Well,
Millie's here to stay.
I said scraping pennies.
You might get 2 for that. 2 pennies.
Yeah, exactly. So no, the Millie's here to stay for now. That's my track steed. And then thinking about some classics, I agree on the 2-stroke side of things. I think for me, probably an NSR 250. I do quite like old school Hondas. As nice as the RS is, I do like an old school Honda. I mean, just the whole two-stroke thing is just cool, isn't it? It smells incredible. It sounds incredible. I've never actually ridden one. I'd absolutely love to, but I think, if you can kind of afford the upkeep of one, and maybe a little bit more than a modern four-stroke, I think what a cool thing to have in your garage.
Definitely, like I say, if you can get it smashing around one of the shorter tracks that we've got here in the UK, I think that would be a right blast.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the classics side of things as well, something like a VFR 750R RC.
Okay, yep.
30 old school 80s superbike, really, isn't it? From
single-sided swing arm.
Very arm. Cool. Yeah, that peach of a V4, was a world superbike homologation special, really, I believe. And they look amazing, in that kind of classic Honda livery. They sound great. And they're just, all round it's going to be a solid bike. It's a Honda. So yeah, definitely something like that. And also, do you know what? I think something a bit more silly. I do quite like a Ducati Scrambler.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
See, I like them. I think they're cool. They're cool to look at. Aesthetically, very pleasing. Whether I would own one, I'm not sure. I don't want to say gimmicky, but you wouldn't necessarily take one scrambling.
No, you wouldn't. It's far too nice for that.
If you've got your MT and your KTM Super Duke sitting in the garage already, I don't know. Fair play if that's what you're interested in. But I'm just a little bit funny about street scramblers. I think if you're going to go for one personally, it would have to be an older one, a proper classic. But yeah, again, the Ducati thing's never really grabbed me as much as I like Italian bikes. Something about it never really done it for me. Whether it's an old Ducati Monster or a V4R or whatever, just very cool. Never really interested me to own one.
No, fair enough. I was going to go down the Ducati route a little bit further, actually.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, no, I do like a Bippity, an Italian Bippity.
Well,
I think they've had some awesome bikes over the years, haven't they? God, there's quite a few that you could put in your dream garage. But do you know what? They aren't the prettiest Ducati by any means, but it's one that I grew up admiring. And I remember having this model of one when I was 10 or so. I made this.
Yeah, I've forgotten about this bike, to be fair. I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, so I actually really liked a 999S.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're not the best looking Ducati, but there's something about them that...
They've got that old Italian charm, don't they? Much like I like to think our little Aprilias that we've got.
Yeah.
Something about them, not quite to the same degree, fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely something about it that definitely grabs you and gets you interested. I can see that. I had forgotten about that one. I can see that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we all love, the 748s and that kind of era as well. Awesome bikes. I'd never say no to something like that. But we're just getting a bit greedy now.
Running out of budget quickly.
I think we might be a few pennies over budget. We'll be scraping down the back of the sofa. And then on the touring side as well, I'd love to do a bit of that. And so I think I might be showing my age a little bit, but it's all a bit too soon before my time. But, I'd have something like a GS.
Would you?
Yeah.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that.
GS. Yeah. I'd love to go and tour some of the lakes, some of Scotland.
Yeah.
Maybe go over to Europe on one. Like as an all-round tourer, and it's a mile muncher, but they're also perfectly capable bikes. Like they're comfortable, they're quick. People take them on track. They hold their own. So I think they're a very good all-round bike, and definitely that will be on there. I think there's a lot of Europe to go and explore as well. So
yeah. I mean, we've spoken about Switzerland as well quite a lot. A bit of a bucket list one for the two of us, I think. Fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not realised itself yet, but yeah, fingers crossed in the not so distant future that might be a bit of an option. Sure. Whether that will be on a GS or not is to be confirmed.
Yeah, that is TBC.
Yeah,
see if the budget stretches.
Yeah, absolutely. But definitely. An interesting. Is that the end of your garage?
Yeah, I think we're probably starting to hey, we could dream all day, couldn't we?
We
talk
could.
all
I
day
mean,
about-
even in the time that we've been sitting here, that I've been listening to you, I've thought of a few more options that I'd like in my garage. I'd like a supermoto. I'd like a 92, 93 Fireblade as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, we can go on forever. Just give me 5 minutes on Marketplace. I'll think of 20 others that I've forgotten so far. So yeah, I think we should probably call it there, to be honest, for our second episode of the Keepin It Pinned podcast. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. I hope you're enjoying it. Please do leave a comment, comment, subscribe, as they say. Leave any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Wrap it up there. Any suggestions on topics as well? More than welcome.
Yes. And let us know if you're interested in hearing about any guests as well. Like I said, we've got a few people that are lined up, some very interesting people, I think. We're going to see how we get on. We're going to do a few more just host ones, I think. Get ourselves a bit more comfortable because, again, I don't know whether you can tell. I'm sure you can. We're not naturals at this by any means. We've got a long way to go before we're comfortable doing this. But we're just doing it for a bit of fun. We should probably preface this whole podcast, Jobby, by saying we are not professionals in the motorcycle industry by any stretch of the word.
Yes, take no advice from us, seriously.
Oh, we are idiots.
Big idiots. So, yeah, any damages caused are not our responsibility.
Yeah, I think we need to add a big disclaimer at the end of this one.
Disclaimer.
But yeah, no, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Catch you later, guys.